Well, good evening.
Good to see you.
The day after the game before.
Yeah.
How are you feeling?
Tired. We were just speaking about this. Yeah, just emotionally, physically drained, as he said. Just the whole thing. We
Okay. How are you
didn't
feeling
realise how
about...
important it was until I was kind of reflecting on it today.
Right, so so I suppose that's my real question is that, so how do you feel about that then? Do you still think that's game over? Look, my little ticker, was it really as bad as it felt?
No, because I've never really once this season rationally thought that we would win the league. I always recognised that we had certain shortcomings that could be exposed at any point, and here we are. We're in a slump where 2 guaranteed starters are not available, and the rest of the team, are all experiencing their own individual sort of slight drops in level, apart from Saka, who's just amazing, and I love him. So yeah, maybe it doesn't feel as bad. Look, it's disappointing, of course it is. We wanted to scratch that itch, a bit like, we got over disappointing results against Brighton. We've managed to beat Spurs, do the double over Spurs. There are certain things we keep ticking off, and we will continue that in the future.
We've got another chance to do that against City.
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
With a game in hand.
Yeah, look, it's perspective, isn't it?
And the perspective is absolutely massive, because on the surface we did play well yesterday. We absolutely did play well, particularly first half. Second half, it just became, I don't know, they just put the squeeze on. It was akin to, staying in a fight with someone until they just relentlessly, slowly wear you down, and you're just kind of...
It's really funny that and funny as in curious. The perception I certainly had at the game was that City dominated, certainly the second half. And it always felt, even at half-time, 1-1, I said, great, I'll take that as a final score now. Because it always felt to me like it was very much the pretenders against the old hand at this. But several things have happened since, i.e. the City fans who spoke to us on the way back to the car from the ground. I thought they were just being, humble in victory, because you can be, when they said that they were really worried and they felt it was tight and it could have gone either way. I thought, yeah, you're saying that now because you've beaten us, you've swatted us away, and you can say that because we're not a threat to you, kind of like, or a rival to you, like United or Liverpool or whatever. You threw the stat at me that we had 64% of the possession, which I'm absolutely dumbfounded by. I've got another statistic to give you now. In this season, City averaged 89% completion, pass completion rate, right? 89% pass completion. Yesterday was the lowest in any Pep game for City. 72%. Pass completion. Right, so it's forcing me to do a little bit of a reassessment. And then I looked at the game. I didn't look at the game again, but then on another day, Eddie's got a hat-trick.
Well, the phrase that came to mind is something that seemed to be a modern thing. I don't know where it's come from. I don't, but people talk about clutch moments, and it was a clutch game where...
Yeah.
Essentially, clutch just means key moments. It's at the biting point. I don't know what the metaphor is, but essentially, yeah, Eddie takes any of those chances, and I say any because it was about the timing of them.
No, absolutely, because a minute later we were one.
He takes any of those chances, and the narrative will change. And like you say, even watching the game, they put the ball out, misplaced passes.
Time wasting in the first half.
Ederson booked in the first half for time wasting. I've never seen anything.
I do think the crowd deserve a nod for that. I think the crowd were fantastic. Just going back to your clutch moments, do you remember in the second half the Xhaka opportunity where he got caught between two minds?
But he's got to do one or the other. He's got to shoot or he's got to slip.
I didn't realise, but City scored from the breakaway from that.
Yeah, exactly.
You talk about clutch moments because there was a Xhaka opportunity. On top of that, and there was one other chance. City did not have the clear-cut chances that we had,
but they took the ones they did,
and we gifted them. We assisted 2 of them.
Yeah, well, exactly.
So this is why City was celebrating like they'd won the title at the end of the game.
That was going to be what you talked about. It felt like the pretenders versus the seasoned heads. They celebrated that, knowing how
good
how good we've become, but also how important that could be. It's about momentum, and that's why Arsenal fans wanted to win it, because our momentum seems to have just slipped a little.
Yeah, it would have been a real statement victory as well. So actually, I had by this afternoon, I had completely revised my takeaway from the game. My mood had lifted, and I thought, you know what, this is, we're here. Like, granted, we are a little bit depleted at the moment.
Of course.
3 players in particular who would be playing regular first 11 football, i.e. Partey, Jesus, and Smith Rowe, absent, and that makes a huge difference to our squad and team on any given match day. I do think we lack a different striker. You look at what Tony did to us on Saturday, and Haaland. There's a reason City played the long ball.
Yeah,
it's because Haaland's up there. Now, Saliba did really well against him compared to how he did against Tony. Absolutely beasted Saliba at the weekend. But we don't have, like, the cross that Zinchenko put in for Eddie was just perfect. And that's in the first half. And Eddie hit his shoulder. That's a goal. And 2 minutes later, we're 1-0 down. So I think there's issues with the squad, absolutely. But that notwithstanding, we've got ourselves into a position, which is fantastic. And we are still, everyone wins their game. Our game in hand is home to Everton, right? 1 point from that game, and we're top in our own right. So, and then I love Orbinho on Twitter.
I see. I'm getting a bit.
He tweeted. He
makes me feel awful. Some of the stats he brings out. Did you see his whole thread about the seasons where we've been top and then?
Yeah, I didn't read that one. I didn't read that one. But the one I did read is the Arsenal's record against the Big 7, including Newcastle, and we're top with that. But that was fine. So I was all right. Okay, I'll read this thread. His next tweet was games remaining against the Big 7. City have 4, all at home.
Yeah.
We've got 4, 3 away. So at this point, I thought, oh, crap. His next tweet was...
The away ones in the top half?
Yeah, only 3 teams away from home in the top half of the season that you've got left. And so I started thinking, nah, it's... With that in mind, I think we needed to beat either one of Everton and Brentford and draw against City, just to keep them at arm's length, because they will be distracted by the Champions League. I want them to win the Champions League. I want them to go as far as they possibly can in that and win it. Not a problem with that. It'll be taken off them when the judge's gavel comes down and they're convicted of all those sorts of heinous crimes against sporting integrity and so on, allegedly. Well, I don't know, say that. Anyway, but from an Arsenal's perspective this season, we need City involved in as many other competitions as possible. So I'm torn. I don't think it was as bad as it felt yesterday. I think it was an opportunity. I think Arteta said today. He said, "I've pretty much watched Tomiyasu play for 7 years and never seen him do a back pass like that." And it's just, you can't legislate for that.
Clutch moments, exactly, and that's the thing, isn't it? It's the difference between, if we analyse the game as a whole, you see 64% possession. You see City misplacing passes. You see the fact that they're forced to time waste and go long. But when you look at the moments, you see Tomiyasu's back pass. You see Eddie's missed chances. You see the penalty given away. All right, ruled out for offside, but still. You see, the positioning slightly wrong for the Grealish goal. And, you see those...
I didn't realise that the Grealish goal took a deflection off Tomiyasu, which took it past Ramsdale. Ramsdale would have comfortably saved it.
Do you know the game it put me in mind of? Man United away.
Right.
Where, again, we all played very well. Most people universally think that, we played better, but actually just certain clutch moments cost us, basically. The other thing that reminded me of that game, and I'd forgotten about this until I was reminded, I was listening to another podcast earlier today, Thomas Partey missed that game as well. Lokonga played that game, and I'd completely forgotten about that. So we've lost 3 games this season, 2 of which we've been missing Thomas Partey. Now, Everton, that was just a terrible performance. They sat 10 men behind the ball, 11 men behind the ball, really. And so what Partey does well wasn't required, shall we say.
Yeah.
Whereas I think against United and against City, he would have been absolutely vital. Now, that said, Jorginho was one of our better players last night.
Yeah.
But he's just a different kind of midfielder, isn't he? He's not quite...
I don't think we lost the game in midfield.
No, that's the thing, because they went long. They went long.
And we lost the game, and it sounds kind of almost contrite to say it, but we lost the game in either box. Carelessness at one end and profligacy at the other end. We did momentum in the season, but momentum in the game. We just needed one of those Eddie chances to go in. And you're having a different conversation today because they were rattled. Had we gone 1-0 up in that game with a goal from open play, with that crowd the way they were, I genuinely can't see how City would have got away with any points at all because of just that moment. I don't know what minute it was, half hour in. And I must admit, just going back to something that was a real bone of contention for us in the actual game itself, or on the terraces there last night, was that I don't think that was a second yellow card for the keeper. I think it was a soft, but I do think it was. I know we watched it again, and we had you had different reactions to it. I was like, yeah, I'd want it, the penalty. But I think it's soft though. I think it's soft. I do think it's a soft pen.
Okay.
And I'll be thinking if that was Ramsdale and he'd been booked for time wasting earlier and he got a second yellow card, I mean, fair enough, he would have got the second yellow card because it's Arsenal, so that's one thing. But if he picked up the second yellow card and got a red for that, I'd be like, nah, that's not right. That'd be harsh. Because it was odd because Eddie'd already got the shot away and it was cleared off the line.
Well, but on the same thing, it made me think that actually there are so many times when basically a keeper can clear out a player and it shouldn't really matter that he gets his shot away. And it might be a defender. actually, he clattered into him. He walked into him, so clumsily. And I just think, it's a foul.
Yeah, but how often do you see it given?
Well, you don't. And so Taylor
Yeah.
has to be credited for that.
No, I agree.
To be honest. So, I mean, again, on reflection, if there's one thing I could probably change about my reaction initially, was that actually, that, especially after the antics of the weekend with VAR, including us, that was an impossible game to referee. And actually, there wasn't a huge amount of controversy.
No, I
it
think
felt like there was, but
You-
now I'm 24 hours away from it.
He refereed the Man United game as well, and I think the same could be said for that one as well. The
VAR review of the Odegaard foul was obviously disappointing, but yeah, actually, it was a bit niggly. It was a bit stop-start, but at the same time,
City set out to spoil. It was
they did, and he booked Edison early. I mean,
Yeah.
what ref does that?
He'd spoken to Gundogan before that to say, listen,
Yeah.
if he carries on with that, I'm going to book him.
And
But the annoying thing is, though, he booked Tomiyasu for time wasting. Did he?
Wow.
Where was the warning?
Yeah, there's going to be inconsistencies and stuff.
It's probably because Tomiyasu stood right in front of the City fans at the time, and they were begging for a yellow card. On the, it's really hard to judge the game. Like I said I'd judge the Everton defeat based on how we did against Brentford, and we drew against Brentford. Now, with the VAR controversy, there was a sense of injustice there that maybe tempered the.
But it still was flat.
Yes, it wasn't as flat as Everton, but it still was flat. It's weird, but I'm almost going to pause judgment on last night until I see how we do against Villa. If we don't beat Villa, it's game over for the title. I think that's gone.
Yeah, then the concern turns.
Yes, you're looking at United in third.
This become a real
the greatest bottle job of all time. You know that thing.
Yeah.
So I've just looked at the next three fixtures for Arsenal, City, and United. We're Villa away, Leicester away, and Everton at home. Okay. Now, I think we'll batter Everton at home.
You do?
I do, yeah.
Do you think it will be because there's been the odd occasion, a bit like Brentford earlier in the season when we went to their place?
Yes.
And the players said they were motivated by what Tony had said the season before.
Yeah.
So are you thinking that the defeat to Everton will be fuel to avenge?
Absolutely. And Villa and Leicester away. Leicester away, they're on good form. I hope they win their next game.
There'll be goals. Weekends. There'll be so many goals in that game.
Yeah.
It'll be ridiculous.
Obviously, it'll be nice to see Smith Rowe and Jesus on the bench for at least one of those games. I don't know how realistic that is for Jesus. I don't know. I haven't checked that. I don't know what date the Everton game is.
I don't know.
It's the 1st of March. Is it the 1st of March, I think?
Yeah. Well, Nelson was on the bench yesterday.
He was.
Smith Rowe, I think, should be back relatively soon in a game time.
Should be on the bench on Saturday.
Jesus, they keep talking very vaguely.
It's been vague the whole time. March would have been the original prognosis. City's next three games: Forest away, Bournemouth away, Newcastle at home. So that's 2 wins away. Newcastle at home. It just depends.
I think because Forest and
Bournemouth.
I haven't watched a huge amount of Forest in recent weeks, but when I did last see them, which might have been either pre-Christmas or even pre-World Cup, Cooper was being a lot more pragmatic.
Their best centre back's out for the season. Boley, or what was it? Out for the season, and they lost their last game 2-0. Pretty. Was it? So. Forest away, Bournemouth away, and Newcastle at home. You think, but Newcastle have the Carling Cup final.
And
so that's if they win that, and I hope they do because it's against United. So I'll be.
But how many times have we seen it? This is the City 10, 11 game winning run now,
Yeah.
basically, you know.
Yes, absolutely, and we can't live with that. So we haven't got the squad to live with that. United's next 3 games: Leicester home, Liverpool away, and Southampton at home. Now that actually spans quite a large period of time because
they've got the Carling Cup.
because they've got the Carling Cup final. They've also got another game at Barcelona.
Barcelona. Did you watch it tonight?
I didn't know.
I watched the first half.
No.
And it was relatively entertaining, but not enough to make me think, oh, I'm going to persist with this. I don't really care. And then 2-2 in the second half. I absolutely missed all the excitement.
Yeah, so no, I want Barcelona to win because we've got the Europa League to return to as well, and I don't want to go up against United over 2 games in that. So
yeah, it's that balance, isn't it? The classic football fan wants them to play more games.
Yeah, but not against us.
Especially not against us either.
Yes. So, all right. I asked a mate of mine. Shout out to Trev, Big Trev. How you doing, mate? I asked him 2 questions about an hour ago.
Sorry, is Trev an Arsenal fan?
Yeah. Big Gooner, yeah. And I said, what changes would you make, if any, for Saturday? And where do you think we'll end the season? And so he said, need to rotate, have to rotate. There needs a kind of a recharging of batteries in some cases. But he said Tierney in at left back. I think whether that so I've heard some people say Tierney in at left back, Zinchenko to give Xhaka a rest in the middle, and Xhaka did look like he was carrying a knock in that second half yesterday.
Yeah.
And he was that, Xhaka 6 games ago wouldn't have hesitated in that opportunity he had. He'd have pulled the trigger. He'd have backed himself for the left foot shot from that position, I think. He said White will come in for Tomiyasu again and Trossard in for Martinelli. And he suggested that maybe Xhaka, maybe Vieira will get a go in the middle in place of Xhaka. I'm not sure Vieira's done enough in the 2 substitute appearances he's had in the last 2 games to warrant that, but it might not be about him. It might be about Xhaka's carrying a bit of a knock. He needs a week off, which is fair enough. And he said he thinks we'll finish 3rd. And I followed up and asked him, would you be disappointed with that? And yes, but not if you'd asked me at the start of the season.
This is
it's how well we've done now to get into the position we're in, married to the disappointment of falling away now. So what do you think then? Same questions to you,
changes wise, I don't know, because
assuming that there are no additional injuries, say so.
I think for me that there are players that probably need a rest, but as much as we need a rest, we need a win. And I think there is a certain balance to be had where I think Saka and Odegaard should play. I think Eddie should play because they're players. I mean, Saka is in form and contributing massively. Odegaard is still playing well, but actually it would be good. Should it become a positive game, he can hopefully build on that. Eddie just needs a goal.
Well, we have no one to who takes Eddie's place.
Well, exactly, and then there's the other thing of there is no one to take his place. Trossard for Martinelli is an easy one, I think, and I think Trossard for Martinelli might be the only one. I don't think it should be, but I think.
What about Ben White or Tomiyasu?
Well, here's the thing: Tomiyasu needs to get up to full speed. And although he started shaky yesterday, he did finish the game very strongly, I thought. It probably only changed simply because, again, it was probably an easy substitution to make. But because I think one of them should probably play centre back, because I think Saliba and Gabriel have been carrying a lot of heavy workload themselves, but they are a partnership, so
Yeah,
I can
and a
see why you would
a
stick
very,
with them.
very solid one.
Very
Gabriel had
solid.
Gabriel had a bit of a not his best game last night.
No,
And I thought Saliba was decent. I thought he was good.
decent.
But Gabriel, like, yeah, I think he's played every minute, hasn't he?
Yeah. And then
You can't make too many. You can't make too many changes, especially like across the back line. So if you've got Tierney, are you playing Tierney?
Well, this is the thing. I'm not sure. As I love Tierney, I'd play Tierney all the time. But if your long-term outlook is to play Zinchenko at left back, you know, making this change, unless you need to really rotate, unless it's about swapping Xhaka out and you don't trust anyone to take Xhaka's place apart from Zinchenko, then actually Zinchenko should probably stay left back. Now, should he stay in that position for the whole game? I felt Tierney would have been a nice addition at some point in the last couple of games, particularly Brentford.
Only problem with Brentford is Tierney would be crossing the ball into, you know, if he's doing his overlapping runs.
Yeah, but he doesn't have to cross in the air. You can pull it back. You know, there is variation to his play.
Yeah.
I think there is a misconception that Tierney is this like one-dimensional run and hit the line and cross it in. You know, he's not George Armstrong, and George Armstrong was bloody amazing, by the way. But you know, there is more of a string to his bow. So I don't know. And that said, you know, it could be a case of I'd want Trossard to come in and form more of a relationship with Zinchenko if Zinchenko's the long-term left back, because then Trossard can hopefully dovetail when he comes in, because he's like the go-to substitute now, but deserves a break. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the problem is now Arteta's stuck between a rock and a hard place, isn't he? Because he's got the team that have got him to where they are, and then he's also, you know, there are necessary changes that need to be made for both physical reasons, psychological reasons, emotional reasons.
That's interesting you say that, and I agree with that completely. But I'm not sure Arteta would agree with that. If you listen to him after the game, he was quite brilliant. He was like, I'm more convinced now. Now, I know there's another edge to that. There's another, you know, back your team publicly and all that. But and at the time I was thinking, yeah, he's just saying the right things. But with the other statistics that have come out, and then analysing the game in the cold light of day and the chances created, the chances
he
missed,
is probably right.
He's probably right against the best team in Europe.
Yeah. I remember Guardiola when Guardiola first came over, and I think, you know, it would have been in his first 2 or 3 years anyway. And they just suffered a defeat. And they just suffered a defeat in that classic Man City way, where it was possession, and they just managed to get the breakthrough. Someone beat them on the counter and beat them. And someone said, "Oh, so Pep, are you going to change what you're doing?" And he just went, "No. Why would I?" He said, "This can happen in football. You can have all the ball and then not have all the points. Like, you can just have that. But actually, if your level of performance is that good and that consistent for so long, you'll have more.
You're going to win more than you lose.
Than won't." So the problem is, yeah, like you say, maybe it's about what happens against Villa, because there's only so many games and so many patches of games where you can say, yeah, but we had more possession. Yeah, but we were in the dominant attacking areas and all those sorts of things. Like, that's fine.
Before it sounds like an excuse, yeah.
If we beat Villa, okay, fine, that's fine. And, you know, Brentford, we did have a lot of possession. They sort of played that game themselves. You know, we had two teams that basically, you know, were very organised defensively.
But if you look at the Brentford game on chances created, we did better against Man City.
Look,
which is like it's a real kind of
it's a head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't know. I can't process it. I can't.
Well, that's the thing. We're so used to, you know, if you think whatever Emery was trying to sort of establish when he was there, and even Arteta's first difficult year, and then you've got the sort of the tail end of Wenger's time, which was all a bit of a mess, but it was a kind of expected mess, and you'd roll your eyes. And it's that thing that like getting used to playing in a certain way and it going right for you most of the time, but when it goes wrong, how do we react? Because we're so used to defeats happening and everyone going whatever, and just now we just have to kind of swallow it and go, it's just one of those days.
Because I actually think the players are not going to be feeling. Arteta said they're really gutted in the changing room because they're angry with themselves, they're cross with themselves that they've made.
Not doubting themselves.
No, not at all, at all. And that's why, and that's the difference between the players and the fans. And I said at the start of the game, before the game kicked off yesterday, and we're a bundle of nerves and standing on the terraces, and I just turned to you and I said, the players aren't nervous about this right now. Where they are, they're not nervous because they can actually affect something. They back themselves. They're supremely talented footballers, like the very, very best of the very, very best, and have demonstrated it this season. And there's lots of love for them, and the atmosphere yesterday was just amazing. Like at various points, I noticed a couple of the Arsenal players were clapping the fans. This is during the game, during one of the many pauses in the game, thanks to Man City. That you could see at Ødegaard and Xhaka, they were like acknowledging the fans and thinking, yeah, you guys are on it. Like this is impressive. And I think one of the interviewers to Arteta said, like the atmosphere was, I don't know, he used, I don't know, was it the word exceptional? He said, but it was an E word anyway. And I thought, it was. So I don't know what my point was, Steph. I've no idea.
That's my big takeaway from it. The atmosphere was incredible. It was.
But the play, I don't think the players have left that game feeling the same way that we do. When I've written on the ticker there, was it really as bad as it felt? Like, no is the answer. Like simple answer. No, it wasn't. But the players have not even got into that mindset where they're questioning, was it as bad as it felt? You mentioned it yesterday about a missed opportunity. That's what they're thinking.
Yeah.
That's what they're thinking. That's the page they're on. Like, right, come on then. We missed that opportunity. We're level on points. We've got a game in hand. This is ours. Look what we've just done to Man City. Okay, lost 3-1. It's like we've gifted them a game, a win. We could, and from Man City's perspective, we could just as easily go to their ground and win. You take a few of you eliminate the mistakes, right?
Yeah.
You don't make one mistake in the game. Yeah. We've done it many times, no mistakes, where it leads to a goal. You're always going to make mistakes, but and you put Jesus, and who wasn't prolific before he got injured either, but you put Jesus on the pitch.
The dynamic of play, though, that's the
thing. Absolutely. It brings Martinelli into the game more. It brings Xhaka into the game more as well, because that's that kind of left-hand area that he used to pull out to quite a lot. Arsenal players know this. Arteta knows this. Man City players know this. Pep knows this. The Man City fans that we spoke to, they know it.
Yeah.
And look at the way they celebrate. So I actually think that, and I've done a good job at pep talking myself now. No pun intended. But I'm up for it. Come on, Villa Park. You're going on Saturday.
I'm going. I'll be there. Yeah, first time I've ever been to Villa Park. I'm looking forward to it.
So make sure the atmosphere's on it. Like.
Oh, I think the away end will be buzzing.
Yeah.
It's a shame it's an early kickoff because it means another early start, and there won't be time to
our last early kickoff wasn't so good
to percolate. And so soon after such a big game is a bit disappointing, but it is what it is. That's just the
and we've got the week off, haven't we?
Because it's the second round of the
Europa League
round. So right. after Saturday, Yeah, a
It's
week to
Leicester away.
take stock, and then Leicester away.
What's when is the Leicester away game? What is it? Saturday, Sunday? Is it?
I don't know. That is Saturday, 3:00.
No, 3:00 kickoff on a Saturday. Another one.
So I won't be able to watch it.
That's bizarre. An Arsenal away game at 3:00 on a Saturday. They normally put the away games for TV
Weird,
because Arsenal's fan base is probably the most active. Do you know what? I'm delighted it's not on telly because it means I don't have that usual what's that word? Mentally distressing kind of charade I play with myself when I say, I'm going to watch this, and after a minute and a half, I'm pausing the TV because I'm too nervous and I can't stand it. Unless I'm at the game, I hate watching. I can't do it. And sometimes I'm okay when it's 0-0, but the second we go 1-0 up, I'm all over the place because now we've got something to lose. It's like that. But anyway, any final takeaway?
No, not really. Like you say, it's just the thing that's been worrying us most is an injury to Partey, and here we are. Hopefully, Jorginho can.
I thought he was all right.
Yeah,
and what I noticed
so
about him.
vocal.
Yes,
vocal
I was just going to say that. Yeah, he was non-stop pointing, directing, and again, our midfield didn't come second best.
It was okay.
There's a reason we had. Well, the 64% possession is largely a consequence of controlled midfield performance. Obviously. So actually, that I've not got an issue with him.
The other thing, as well as Partey moving, it was also this sort of like sequence of results. We worried that they might creep back in, and in isolation, Everton game a blip. 11 men behind the ball, tough to break down, didn't create anything. Brentford, really tough game. They played amazing. They were exceptional, and I think that's been overlooked too much. And then Man City, a team that we haven't beaten in 11 games. So realistically, you might as well have written that one off. Not that we did, but you know what I mean. Just like in terms
in isolation, you can mitigate every result.
Yeah. Whereas they've come 3 in a row, and that's the worrying thing, isn't it? It's one of those.
Well, I think we'll get 9 points from the next 3.
This is being recorded, right?
Yeah, and listen, we'll revisit this.
We'll revisit this.
I think we will. I'm more convinced now. I'm like Arteta, you see. I'm more convinced now after that because he saw the game that actually played out last night.
Yeah.
Which is not. I saw an emotional game.
We all did, yeah.
And that's the difference. And I'm not a professional footballer, but they are, and they have all the very best. Like I love Arteta. I've got to say it. I think to have had Arsene Wenger as our manager for such a long time was such a privilege, and was so fortunate that actually we've now got another just somebody that you're quite proud to have manage your club. That you don't think, look, I'm behind him because he's my manager, but my God, he's an idiot.
He's got the right values, hasn't he?
Yes, yeah, and he gets Arsenal, and to marry those two together, I'm delighted. Winning the FA Cup in his first season probably meant he didn't get sacked in that run we had. Was that run last season? No, it wasn't. Was it?
No, season before.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm putting it out there. 9 points from the next 3 games.
Well, fingers crossed. I'll be singing loud.
So look, just about under 40 minutes. Well, look, enjoy Villa.
I'll try.
Bring back the 3 points, and we'll chat Saturday evening because it's an early kickoff. You'll be home in plenty of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. All right. Take care.
See ya.